Welcome to our African American Living History Museum. You will learn about many brave and hard-working people, some who were slaves and some who were the descendants of slaves, who achieved great success in many fields, including music, science, sports, literature, and politics. Take a walk through history with us as you learn their stories.
Now I'll be your guide for today. Please follow me.
Phyllis Whitley was born in Africa. At the age of 8, she was stolen, taken to America, sold as a slave. She was taken to Boston and became a slave in the Whitley family.
My name is Phyllis Woody. I was taught to read and write by Mary Whitley because she knew I was smart. Soon I was writing poems. I wrote poems for the rest of my life. In fact, I became famous everywhere for my poem in 1773. My first poem was published. George Washington and Benjamin Franklin told me how much they liked my poems. The Whitleys freed me from slavery.
She was only 31 when she died in 1784.
I would like to introduce Sojourner Truth. She was a slave, but her name was really Isabelle Pumphrey. But after she became free, she gave herself a new name, Sojourner Truth. This is her story.
My name is Sojourner Truth. I was a slave. My master will not allow me to learn to read or write, so I used my gift of speech. Even when a law was passed freeing the slave, my master would not let me go, so I went away. I called myself Sojourner Truth, which means messengers of truth. I spoke everywhere for freedom from slavery and for the rights of women, and I met 2 presidents. My most famous speech was called "Ain't I a Woman?" I lived to be 91 years old.
I would like to introduce Frederick Douglass. He was a famous orator, which means someone who makes great speeches. He spoke about freeing all slaves and rights for women. This is his story.
My name is Frederick Douglass. I was born a slave, but I ran away to Massachusetts when I was 21. I wrote a book about my life and started a newspaper. I told Abraham Lincoln to let African Americans serve in the Army Civil War. They have served proudly ever since, and I believe in hope and peace, and I was proud when the slaves were freed. I'll live to be 78 years old.
I'd like to introduce Eliza McCoy. Mr. McCoy was one of the first Black American inventors. He invented common household tools like the ironing board and the lawn sprinkler. He invented a better rubber heel for shoes and a better tread for tires. He also created special devices for trains and machinery. He was so clever, he averaged 2 inventions a year. A total of 50 inventions. He was the real McCoy.
Hello, my name is Eliza McCord. My parents died and settled in Canada, where I was born on my parents' large farm. Education was very important to us. My parents sent me to school in Scotland to learn engineering. When I returned, I moved to the United States. I was always busy to make people's lives easier. I hope something I invented has helped you.
I'd like to introduce Susan McKinney Stewart, the first Black female doctor in New York State and the third Black female doctor in the United States. It was nearly impossible for a woman to become a doctor in the 1800s and consider it impossible for a Black woman to do it. But Susan was stubborn and said, "I can do it," and she did. Hello, I'm Susan McKinney Stewart. When I was a young girl, my niece became very ill. I helped to care for her, but she died. That is when I decided I would become a doctor. I attended New York Medical College and Hospital for Women. I was the first Black woman to go to that college. I did very well in my classes. I opened my first doctor's office in Brooklyn, New York in 1870. I helped to fight for equal rights for women and taught people about health and nutrition. In 1881, I opened the Memorial Hospital for Women and Children. There is a school in New York City named after me. Caring for others was always important to me. I hope my story inspires others to do the same.
I'd like to introduce Jean Ernest Matzlager. He was a shoemaker who came to America and became an important inventor. This is his story.
My name is Janna Ernest Master. I was born in 1852 in South America. My mother was black and my father was white. I worked in my father's shoe shop. The work was hard. We could only make 50 pairs of shoes one day. I invented a machine that could make up to 700 pairs of shoes one day. I gave it food and money so I could make that machine. And I got sick and lived to be only 36 years old. In 1992, the United States printed a postage stamp in my honor.
Nat Love was a cowboy when the West was still wild. He was born a slave in Tennessee in 1854. He went west after the Civil War. He joined many other black cowboys.
I'm Nat Love. I was known as a great rocker. I went west and got a job as a cowboy. I drove cattle in the Chisholm Trail between Texas and Kansas. I must rode more than 100 miles in 12 hours. It was a lot of riding. I rode with Billy the Kid at Buffalo Bill and shared trail with Jesse James. I was even adopted by an Indian tribe. I wanted to respect a richer. I became a legend.
He was 67 when he died in 1921.
Introduce Ida Wells Burnett, a very brave woman who fought for equal rights for all people. Ida's parents were slaves. They died when she was only 14 years old. Ida became a teacher and dedicated her life to the fight for human rights.
Hello, I'm Ida Wells Burnett. I've spent my whole life fighting to improve the lives of others. I started out by taking care of my brothers and sisters after my parents died. Then I became a school teacher. I fought for better schools in the South, equal treatment on the railroad trains, and unfair treatment of all people. I had a newspaper, but some people didn't like what I was writing, so they burnt my newspaper business to the ground. I helped to start the NAACP. I worked with Jane Addams to improve schools in the cities. I hope that helped others to see that it is important to stand up for what you believe is right.
George Washington Carver began life as a slave. He was born in Missouri. Baby George and his mother were kidnapped. His master, Moses Carver, got him back in exchange for a horse, but his mother was never found.
I'm George Washington Carver. After the Civil War, I was free but young and poor. I worked hard to put myself through high school and college. I was 36 when I received my master's degree from college. I later became a famous botanist, a scientist who studies plants. I helped farmers learn how to use their farms better. I taught them to rotate the crops each year. 1 year cotton, the next year peanuts. I found more than 300 ways to use peanuts. Butter, ink, paper, soap, and other products. I became known as the plant doctor in 1948. President Harry Truman put my picture on the U.S. postage stamp.
He was 80 years old when he died in 1943.
Scott Joplin was a Texan. He was born in Texarkana in 1868. His father was a former slave and his mother was freeborn. Their house was filled with children and music. He was a composer.
My name is Scott Joplin. I play the piano. My name is Scott Joplin. I play the piano, played at a very young age, and I made most of the music. I was very young when I left home and went to St. Louis. While I was in St. Louis, I heard music called ragtime. Ragtime makes your head joyful and makes your soul laugh. In 1899, I wrote Maple Leaf Rag. It was published. It became a big hit. It was played on pianos around the world. I wrote many rags. I even wrote an opera. Millions of my tunes were sold. I earned the title King of Ragtime.
And this is a sample of his music.
one of the Augustus Savage famous sculptures. It is called Gammon. Miss Savage led the way for other African American artists to be recognized. Unfortunately, much of her work has not survived because she could not afford to have them cast in bronze. Miss Savage was also a portrait artist, poet, and a teacher.
I'm Augustus Savage. I was born in Green Cove, Springfield on February 29, 1892. I began to train as an artist when I was 6 years old. I began to mold figures out of clay when I moved to New York City in 1921. I worked and studied in Paris for a while. When I returned, I made sculptures out of many African-American leaders, such as Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey. When I returned, I opened my own art school in Hammond. I also opened the first art gallery to show African-American art in New York City.
Bessie Coleman was born January 26, 1892 in Atlanta, Texas. She was the first African-American to earn an international pilot license and the first black woman to fly an airplane.
Hi, I'm Bessie Coleman. When I saw my first plane, my heart took flight. It was love at first sight. I had to go to France in order to learn to fly because no white pilot would teach me. On June 15, 1921, I received my pilot's license and returned to America a celebrity. I became a stunt pilot and flew in air shows. I did loops, circles, and flew upside down.
On April 10, 1926, her plane went out of control and she died at the young age of 24.
I'd like to introduce Bessie Smith. Miss Smith was the greatest blues singer of the 20th century. She has influenced many famous singers like Janis Joplin, even many years after her death. She let no one take advantage of her and didn't let anyone stop her from doing the things that she loved. She's considered one of the best blues singers ever.
Hello, I am Bessie Smith. My parents died when I was still a child. I was raised by my older brothers and sisters. My older brother Clarence got me started in show business. We sang and danced on street corners for pennies. Later, he helped me to get a job with an entertainment company. I recorded my first record in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I performed mostly in the South, but people all over the world bought my records. I was inducted into the Blues Hall of Fame in 1980 and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1989. Try listening to my music. I think you'll like it.
When it rained 5 days and the skies turned dark as night. When it rained 5 days and the skies turned dark as night.
I would like to introduce Hattie McDaniel. She was a very famous African-American actress, and you have probably seen her in some movies that is shown on TV. She won a very famous prize, the Academy Award for her acting. This is her story.
My name is Hattie McDaniel. I was born in 1895. I dropped out of school to travel around the country and perform in miniature shows in vaudeville. I used to sing all the time when I was working cleaning bathrooms. Someone heard me and hired me to sing in nightclubs and on the radio. I made my first movie in 1932, and I acted in many movies after that. You may have seen me in The Little Colonel Shirley Temple. I won the Academy Award for playing the part Mammy in Gone with the Wind. I lived to be 57 years old.
Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken-winged bird that cannot fly. Hold fast to dreams, for when dreams go, life is a barren field frozen with snow. The title of that poem is Dreams. It was written by Langston Hughes. Langston Hughes is not here today, so Andrew will tell you about him.
Langston Hughes was born in Joplin, Missouri on February 1st, 1902. He loved to visit his grandmother because she told him great stories about his grandparents. He began reading stories and found that the wonderful world of books could bring him pleasure. He loved writing novels, plays, and poetry. He loved writing poetry. He has written novels, plays, poetry, newspaper articles, and operas, and he was better known for his poetry. He has received many awards and honors for his writing.
Charles Djou is a doctor, scientist, and a teacher. Have you ever heard of a bank where you do not put money in or take money out? This bank is called a blood bank. Charles Richard Djou set up the first blood bank. He will tell you more about himself in the blood bank.
I'm Charles Djou. I had always wanted to be a doctor. I worked very hard to be a student athlete. I went to Amherst College in Massachusetts. I won honors and scholarships in sports. I taught college for 2 years so that I can earn money to go to medical school as a young doctor. I was interested in blood transfusions. Sometimes you may need blood and you may not find someone to give it when you need it. So I discovered a way to save blood. I thought I'd start a blood bank where people could borrow blood the way they borrow money from a bank. They can repay the blood with their own blood so that others could borrow it. My discoveries have saved many lives.
Dr. Djou is known as the father of the blood bank. In his time, African Americans could not go to the same hospital where white people went to. In 1950, he was in a car accident. He died from loss of blood when he could not get into the nearest hospital.
Mahalia Jackson was born on October 26, 1911, in New Orleans, Louisiana. She was a famous gospel singer. The first record she made was called Move Up a Little Higher. She developed a famous style of singing religious music.
I'm Mahalia Jackson. I began singing at the age of 4 in the children's choir at Plymouth Rock Baptist Church. The music I brought the world was mixed blues, ragtime, jazz, and gospel. I became famous solely through the black community. When I broke the $1 million market sauce, African-American press described me as the only Negro whom Negroes had made famous. In 1964, Civil Rights March, Washington, D.C., I sang the spiritual.
She was 61 when she died in 1972.
I would like to introduce Rosa Parks. She is a famous African-American woman who did a brave thing one day when she broke a bad law and refused to give up her seat to a white man on a bus. She helped to change history and have laws passed that were fair. This is her story.
My name is Rosa Parks. Many people know my story. I worked hard to change the laws that were bad. One day I was riding the bus home from work and a white man got on the bus and the driver told me to give up my seat. I didn't think that was right. I said no. I was arrested. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. helped organize a boycott. Many black people and white people won't ride buses until they find change the law. Now black people and white people can ride buses and do many other things together. I'm in my 80s now. I've met presidents and other famous people. I'm proud that I did what I believe in.
I would like to introduce Gwendolyn Brooks. She was a wonderful poet and the first African-American woman to win a famous award of excellence in writing called the Pulitzer Prize. This is her story.
Hello, my name is Gwendolyn Brooks. I was born in 1917. When I was little, I was shy. I loved to write poetry. My first poem was published when I was 13 years old. In 1950, I became the first African-American woman to win the Pulitzer Prize for poetry. I was married and had one son, Henry. I taught poetry at Columbia University. I wrote many books of poetry and a novel, too. I lived to be 83 years old.
I'd like to introduce Jackie Robinson.
Mr. Robinson, who was born on the same plantation as his grandparents were slaves on, was the first black American to play in the organized baseball league. He was a fantastic athlete, a brave veteran, a successful businessman, and a strong supporter of the civil rights movement. Mr. Robinson was a man of courage and pride who opened the doors of Major League sports to all people.
Hello, I am Jackie Robinson. My family was very poor, but we worked hard for a better life. My mother's example of hard-working person has stuck in me all my life. My brother ran track in the 1936 Olympics. This is what made me decide to always be a winner. I earned a scholarship and I was able to go to college. I played baseball, basketball, football, and I ran track in college. Then World War II started. I joined the Army to fight for my country. After the war, I played in the Negro Baseball League. Blacks could not play on sports teams with whites in the 1940s. The owner of the Brooklyn Dodgers decided that he wanted a better team, and he wanted me. He didn't care what color my skin was. But eventually things changed. Now anyone who's talented enough can play in an organized sports league.
I would like to introduce Shirley Chisholm. She was born November 30th, 1924 in Brooklyn, New York. She graduated from high school and went into college in New York. Here's her story.
Hello, my name is Shirley Chisholm. I felt that many people weren't being treated fairly. I wanted this to change. I served in the New York State government for 4 years and worked to make laws that protect people's rights. In 1968, I was the first African-American woman elected to the U.S. Congress. I fought for equal rights for women, for blacks, and for unfairly treated groups. I had 2 books published. In 1972, I ran as a candidate for the United States president. I continue to teach and write today.
Lanting Price is a great opera singer. She is a lyric soprano. You can hear her beautiful voice as I speak. Miss Price was born in Laurel, Mississippi on February 10th, 1927. She will tell you more about herself.
My full name is Mary Violet Lanting Price, and I sang in my grandfather's church choirs when I was a girl. Both of my grandfathers were Methodist ministers. It was after I graduated from Central State College in Ohio that I decided that I wanted to be a professional singer. I then studied at the Juilliard School of Music in New York City. I became one of the leading opera singers at the Metropolitan Opera House in New York. I've sang in almost all the great opera houses all over the world. I've made many recordings. I've won more than 20 Grammy Awards for my opera recordings.
Miss Price retired from the Metropolitan Opera in 1986, but she continued to give recitals all over the world.
Althea Gibson was born August 25th, 1927 in Silver, South Carolina. Her parents moved to New York City when she was 3 years old. She liked to play sports, especially basketball, paddle tennis, and tennis.
I'm Althea Gibson. I played in the American Tennis Association, which was almost all black. In 1946, I attracted the attention of 2 tennis-playing doctors who were active in the black tennis community. With the help of these 2 doctors, I finally graduated high school in 1949. In 1950, I was permitted to play at the U.S. Nationals, becoming the first black to compete in the tournament. In 1956, I won the French Championships, and in 1957, I won Wimbledon in the U.S. Nationals. Also in 1957, I was the first black person to be voted by the Associated Press as its Female Athlete of the Year. I paved the way for many black athletes.
I'd like to introduce Faith Ringgold, a very special artist who created a form of art called the story quilt. A story quilt combines painting, fabric, and storytelling. Many of Miss Ringgold's pieces of art can be found in museums around the world.
Hello, my name is Faith Ringgold. I have been an artist for more than 50 years. I have been inspired by African artwork, Tibet artwork, and by my own mother, who's a fashion designer. I get the ideas from my story quilt for life. All around me, I have made more than 95 story quilts and many other different kinds of art. I also like to visit schools to talk to students about being an artist. I am now a professor at the University of California. I hope my art will inspire the children to be creative and happy. That's it.
Barbara Charlene Jordan was a lawyer, educator, and politician. She was the first African-American congressman to come from the Deep South. She was born in Houston, Texas on February 21st, 1936. She was a representative to Congress from Texas. People said that she was one of the most commanding and articulate public speakers of our time.
I'm Barbara Jordan. As the youngest of 3 daughters, I came from a very close-knit family. As a high school student, I became a skilled public speaker. I won a national debate contest in 1939. I was on the debate team that tied up with Harvard University's team. That was one of my proudest college memories. I attended Texas Southern University in Houston. I taught college in Alabama and Texas. I attended Boston University Law School. I was interested in politics after I campaigned for the 1960 presidential elections. I gave the keynote address at the Democratic Convention in 1972 and again in 1952. Guy Luthor Jr. was born in Philadelphia, PA on November 22, 1942. He graduated from Penn State University. His major was aerospace engineering. He earned his master's and PhD degrees in aerospace engineering and laser physics from the Air Force Institute of Technology. He became the first African American to go into space. His friends call him Guy. When he was a little boy, he was very shy and quiet. He enjoyed doing crossword puzzles and brain teasers. He also enjoyed building model airplanes. In high school, he decided to become an aerospace engineer. After he graduated from Penn State, he joined the United States Air Force and served as a pilot in the Vietnam War. In 1978, he was chosen to be an astronaut. In 1983, he was a crew member of the Space Shuttle Challenger.
I'd like to introduce Shirley Ann Jackson. Miss Jackson was born in 1946 and knew she wanted to be a scientist since the time she was a little girl. When Shirley was 4 years old, she told her mother everyone called her Shirley the Great. Her nickname in school is the Brain. Miss Jackson has done many important things in the world of science.
Hello, I'm Shirley Ann Jackson. I have thought of myself as a scientist all of my life. When I was just a little girl, I performed many experiments in my home. School was always very important to me. I graduated from high school with the highest grade in my class and was accepted to MIT, a very famous science college. I graduated with a degree in physics, which is the science of matter and energy. I became the first Black woman at MIT to receive a Doctor of Physics degree. I hope to design and build things that let us talk on phones or play CDs. I have had many big jobs. One was with President Clinton. I had to make sure that nuclear power plants around the country are clean and safe. Today, I am president of a science college in New York State. I hope my success will help to inspire other children to become scientists too.
I would like to introduce Ruby Bridges, who is famous for being the kind and brave little girl who helped change a bad law. There used to be separate schools for white and black children. In 1960, a judge changed the law, and Ruby Bridges was sent to a school that used to have only white children in it. This is her story.
My name is Ruby Bridges. When I was 6 years old, it just sent me to a school where only white children were allowed to go before hundreds of people started yelling at me, and all of the other kids left the school. I went to first grade in that school for a whole year all by myself. I prayed for the people who were mean to me. I learned how to read and write. Then some other kids came back to school and I made friends. Now it is against the law to tell you that you can't go to a certain school because of the color of your skin.
Mae Jemison was determined from childhood to explore space. Her contribution to the nation and the world make a difference. I'm Mae Jemison. I was the first African American woman in space.
when I traveled in Devon on September 12, 1992. I spent several years as a Peace Corps doctor in West Africa. After NASA, I taught Dartmouth class focusing on space age technology in developing nations. Space is the birthright for everyone who is on this planet. I encourage women and minorities to enter the scientific field.
Thank you for visiting our museum. I hope you learned a lot today. Bye.